All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. We are live. It is Monday, starting off the week, September 22nd, last week of September. And oh boy, have we had a day. Have we had a day. I did not expect to see the announcement that we got, but folks, we got the announcement. It was a surprise to me. I'm sure for a lot of you that were covering or just paying attention to the news, it was a surprise as well. Nvidia is investing $100 billion into Openai. It is the biggest story of the day. There's a lot of analysis that we're going to be talking about as we get into this story. And they are providing 10 gigawatts. This is 1 gigawatt is $1 trillion opportunity. 10 gigawatts is massive of computing capacity. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, said, "This is the biggest infrastructure project in history. Computing demand is going through the roof for OpenAI. Every person I know uses ChatGPT." I mean, it's quite incredible. It is quite incredible. And as for this announcement, you got NVIDIA here finally breaking over the 180s. 183.30, that's up 3.75% on the day. It was stuck below 180 basically for the past 2.5 weeks, ever since earnings. So honestly, it was for the past month, it's been stuck below 180. It peaked at 185 the day after earnings and then fell all the way down to 164. If you bought the dip anywhere in that 160, 170 range, you are being rewarded today. 183.20, NVIDIA is very close to getting back to all-time highs. We did touch 184 today as well. Then we got right back down to the 183s, but it looks like we are going to close in the next 14 minutes above 183, up 3.7% on the day. At the same time, Hoodie is now officially in the S&P 500. That's up 125 and 11 cents. We got all the way to 126.64 at one point on the day. That's up about 0.5%, holding on to some of its momentum. SoFi trying to get the $30 close. I don't know if we're going to get there, but we're at 29.79. AMD, that's up 1.62%. The S&P 500 got to 667. That is a new all-time high. Grabby Grab, although it's not there right now, got to 658, which was very exciting. Right now it's 645. So you do have a little bit of an end of day dump on Grab, but still getting above that 650 level, I think was very important, and Grab got there. And then you got Bitmine down about 10% on the day. I don't think anyone should be surprised that Bitmine is down. Ethereum is also down. So the MNAV is going to compress. Ethereum, by the way, just not really recovering at all today. It was at 4,200 when we had the market open. Now 41.33. Bitcoin as well, kind of taking a dump back to 112. It's above 111, but it was at 114 3 hours ago. So as crypto takes a dump, you're going to have the derivative plays also take a dump with it. Coinbase, Circle, none of those names doing that well. I think Robinhood's green today because they're getting included into the S&P 500. But if it wasn't for that, it probably would be red as well. So I think it's rather healthy for Bitmine. It's not that confusing to me. Ethereum's down. Bitmine is pegged to Ethereum. And as a result, Bitmine right here taking a bit of a dip. That is down 10% on the day. Also, again, they did dilute. They offered shares at a premium above what the current price was at the time, which is actually a really good call option for the people that are buying that stock. And essentially, it's them saying, hey, we think it's going to be way above what we're buying the stock at today, which is a good thing. It's just in the short term, if Ethereum goes down, that likely is going to take a bit of a hit. Now, Nvidia going up is helping all of the other derivative plays. SMCI, that's up 2% on the day. AMD is up on the day. Oracle, massive day. New CEOs that are going to be controlling the cloud computing sector of Oracle, or they were controlling the cloud computing sector internally in Oracle. They have now been promoted to CEOs. Also, Oracle now controls or is going to play a role in controlling the TikTok algorithm, which is going to be a very big deal. That one is up almost 7% on the day. Year to date, it's up more than 100%. Absolutely incredible for Oracle. 328.60. Along with the fact that they have a massive deal with OpenAI and a deal with Meta that seems to now be confirmed. Meta right here, that is slightly down on the day at 1.2%. The deal with NVIDIA, I don't think we can understate how big of a deal it is. The other thing that's running because of this NVIDIA deal is something like a Nebius. The data center build out does not look like it's slowing down. That hit 108. Right now it's at 106. I ran right there holding 41.93. That's up 9% on the day. Cypher, another one of these Bitcoin miners that turned into a data center play. That's up 15% on the day. And then you got Bitfarms right here, slightly down, but it was at 318 on the day. Let's hear from Jensen himself and Sam Altman explain why this is such a big deal.
$1 billion investment in OpenAI and working together to build out, I think you're saying 10 gigawatts of capacity over several years. The investment's going to come with the gigawatts, one at a time. You're telling me, you guys, as quickly as you guys can get it done. Jensen, first of all, set the stage. Why?
This is the biggest AI infrastructure project in history. This is the largest computing project in history. Well, the reason for that is because computing demand is going through the roof for OpenAI. ChatGPT is the single most revolutionary AI project in history. It's being used everywhere, every industry, every country. Every person practically that I know uses ChatGPT. The computing demand is going through the roof. And so this partnership is about building an AI infrastructure that enables AI to go from the labs into the world. This is about the AI industrial revolution arriving.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal.
$100 billion, a lot of money. Sam, Greg, you guys are used to dealing with a lot of money in big projects. So Sam, I think it was just 8 months and a day ago, the initial Stargate announcement talking about the overall move that OpenAI is making in building out this capacity. Where does this fit?
So as Jensen said, building this infrastructure is critical to everything we want to do. Without doing this, we cannot deliver the services people want. We can't keep making better models. And now that we really see what's on the near-term horizon of how good the models are getting, the new use cases that are being enabled, what people want to do, this is like the fuel that we need to drive improvement, to drive better models, to drive revenue, everything. So this is helping us get to a world, along with our partners at Stargate, Microsoft, Oracle, where we can build out increasing amounts of infrastructure to deliver on what the world is demanding out of these services.
Now, what's the most important thing right here to understand is that OpenAI has deals with CoreWeave, GCP, Azure, and Oracle, a rumored $50 billion annual deal for 5 years or for 6 years. That's how you get that $300 billion number with Oracle. And they still don't have enough. And they still do not have enough, which is why they needed this NVIDIA investment today for more compute. Now, it's not, I think the headline's a little bit misleading. It's not really so much about the investment NVIDIA is putting into them. It's more so to me about the data center capacity. So yes, NVIDIA is putting $100 billion in, but that $100 billion is not going to happen all at once. It's likely going to be $10 billion per gigawatt that is going to be deployed. Again, building a gigawatt of energy is not easy to do, and there's likely going to need to be a lot of energy players, maybe the IRENs, Cyphers, Nebiuses, CoreWeaves, et cetera, that are going to help to do that. But more so, it's about the commitment NVIDIA is making for the level of demand that they're seeing. You got a quote right here from Jensen. NVIDIA and OpenAI have pushed through have pushed each other for a decade, from the first DGX supercomputer to the breakthrough of ChatGPT. By the way, NVIDIA has owned OpenAI equity for like the past 15 years, right? So it's not really an investment to have equity in them. It's more so to support them to be able to scale. And obviously, NVIDIA gets the benefit because OpenAI is likely going to be buying some NVIDIA chips. This investment and infrastructure partnership marked the next leap forward, deploying 10 gigawatts to power the next era of intelligence. Sam Altman said, everything starts with compute. Compute infrastructure will be the basis of the economy of the future, and we will utilize what we're building with NVIDIA to both create new breakthroughs in AI and empower people and businesses with them at scale. The sort of takeaway for investors here is that this is not slowing down. This is just not slowing down. And so it's one of those things, again, when you hear the bears say that data centers are a scam, all of this is not going to give you any ROI, none of this makes any sense. If OpenAI doesn't have enough compute from 4 different parties that they're working with to be able to build out data center and infrastructure capacity, and they need even more from essentially the biggest player in the game, which is NVIDIA, then obviously it means the demand is only ramping up. And by the way, this is just OpenAI. What happens when Meta, Anthropic, XAI, all of these other companies continue to say we need even more demand? You have some estimates saying $350 billion, I think, for street consensus of CapEx will be spent in 2026. And you have other people like Dylan Patel from SemiAnalysis that runs a boutique semiconductor consulting firm thinking it's going to be more like 450 to 500 billion. And obviously, based on some of these announcements, it feels like it's going to be more to the upside. ChatGPT, 700 million weekly actives. Gemini, 450 million monthly actives. Anthropic, 5x their revenues from 1 to 5 billion in 8 months. Zuck is ready to spend 600 billion. Apple hasn't even unveiled a real AI assistant that could scale to billions of people. FSD, not global yet, whether it's Waymo or Tesla. We don't have full self-driving. And then humanoid robotics is the cherry on top. There are just so many verticals that are going to require this AI build out. I was about to say retire. It might retire if you bet on some of these stocks early. But I mean, it's just one of those things that's incredible, and it's not slowing down. And as a result of it not slowing down, I think the market continues to be excited. Here's a little bit more from Jensen talking about this partnership.
You're all over the place, literally. I mean, you're in the UK. I saw the white bow tie and all that. The tux.
You look very nice.
Yeah, here he is, very nice. But you're also doing a lot of investments. The Intel investment announced last week, quite a bit smaller than this one, but seems significant also because it's weaving NVIDIA technology in the PCN data center level in a way that perhaps it wasn't before. Where do these kinds of investments fit in? How do you think about the value of the ecosystem to NVIDIA?
The Intel partnership is about recognizing that accelerated computing and AI's day has arrived. Remember, general purpose computing was invented practically 60 years ago. And for the last 60 years, we've been following that basic blueprint, that basic architecture, to build the ecosystem, the computing ecosystem of the world. And so all of a sudden, accelerated computing's time has come, and we're fusing, if you will, the Intel architecture with the NVIDIA architecture to bring them into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, I mean, this is, monumental in size. There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon where every single word, every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers will somehow have been reasoned through or referenced by or generated by AI. It's going to be touched by AI somehow. So all of our computing experiences throughout the day, everywhere, in every industry, will be powered by AI.
And that's likely why NVIDIA is making this investment. Essentially, their argument, if we can all step back and kind of use our imagination here, is every single thing we do on a day-to-day basis, if it is touched by AI, just like basically by 2010, every single little thing you did was touched by the internet. And now if that is only propelled by AI, which either makes you more efficient, more effective, gets more things done in the day. Even Steve last night, which by the way, I told you guys not to snitch on me. I get a call from Steve 2 hours ago. I'm in a coffee shop. I'm looking at Grab, trying to get above 650. I get a call from Steve and I have to deal with his shit for 10 minutes about you guys sending him the Animal House clip. I told you guys not to snitch, and you guys snitched. Like 17 of you snitched. He was like, I had 17 DMs of people snitching on you. I'm like, goodness gracious. But even Steve yesterday, right? He needed a thumbnail for his newsletter. He used Grok to make the thumbnail, and it happened in 2 seconds. I mean, that's just a small, minuscule example of what's going on in regards to this entire AI revolution and how it's touching every part of our lives. The other thing that's really important right here is a lot of people are saying, okay, well, this is a bubble because NVIDIA is giving OpenAI $100 billion. OpenAI is going to need $100 billion worth of chips, and then OpenAI is just going to give that money back to NVIDIA. That's going to fuel NVIDIA's earnings, and that's going to make NVIDIA stock go higher. Yes, except there's a caveat, and the caveat to me is very simple. Like, I don't know why people are forgetting this part. NVIDIA gives OpenAI $100 billion. OpenAI buys $100 billion worth of chips from NVIDIA. If there is an ROI that is higher than $100 billion from those chips, then there's no bubble, or there's no Ponzi as people are describing it. I know it sounds kind of like a Ponzi, but there has to be an ROI. It's almost like NVIDIA is kind of like loaning them the chips, and they need to use the chips, which are very in high demand, and there's capacity constraints to be able to get those chips. But if they can generate an ROI, which is the number one question for OpenAI, then it's not a Ponzi to get those chips from NVIDIA and buy those chips back. The question is, can they ultimately get an ROI on those chips to justify why they're getting that $100 billion in the first place? So, yes, I get it. It sounds Ponzi-ish, but if there was, which was the difference in 1999, there was when Cisco was providing all this free networking infrastructure to all these startups were pre-revenue, Pets.com, et cetera. They were making no money. OpenAI is going to do $30 billion of revenue next year. Not going to make any profit, but they're not expected to be profitable until 2030. But if they can eventually make that profit and become the company that they need to become, and obviously NVIDIA has a vested interest in order for them to do that, then obviously that is the benefit that comes to OpenAI as well and NVIDIA. Monday, September 22nd, 4 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock market is now closed. All right, there you go. We are done for the day. I think Trump's about to go live. We'll see if we can cover that. I believe he will be talking about the autism Tylenol stuff, and so we'll see what Mr. Trump has to say. Robinhood, S&P 500 officially closes just below 125, 124.89 on the day for Robinhood. Palantir down about 2% on the day, 179.31. Tessie 433. Tesla did break out to 444.98, did not break 445. But Tesla did fall back a little bit towards the end of the day. 433.97 is what you have on the close. NVIDIA gets the 183.62 close. Not too bad for Nvidia. Again, back above 180 for the first time in a couple of weeks. That's up now 4% on the day. S&P gets the 666.58 close. Not too bad. AMD 159. SoFi did not get the $30 close. It was 30.30. This one will be back at 30 probably in the coming days. 29.83 on SoFi. Grab, unfortunately, does not get the 650 close. We did get to 658. I think that is pretty damn bullish because there were plenty of buyers above that 650 level. Volume, again, 92 million shares, 7th day in the row of basically getting to 100 million shares in volume. I don't know where the volume's coming from, but it's coming from somewhere, and people are getting a bit more excited about Grab. Google right there, 252, ended on the day just above 250. Amazon 227, Reddit 256, Meta 765, PayPal 67.78, Salesforce 249, Apple big day 4%, 256.11 for Apple, and then SMCI 46.86. Let's take a look at the heat map. How did we end out for the day? Relatively green. This was way more red in the morning. You had software that picked up that started to go green. Financial started to go green. Healthcare started to go green with UNH, Lilly, AbbVie, and then tech is green outside of Amazon, which is the one that is getting hit the most over the past couple of days. Micron is tomorrow. Micron is not today, but we will see. Let me confirm. Micron's tomorrow. Yeah, Micron's tomorrow after the close, and we'll see what happens with Micron. In terms of the stock draft, Matt is up 27.8%. We are now up 30.5%. So we're pulling away a little bit into that first place, up about 3%. Steve's up 6, Tanner's up 21.51, and Chris is up 11.56. That is the update on the stock draft. Micron right here during the day, up about 1.18%. IREN ended on the day, 8.7%. Again, Cypher ended, I think it was a 52-week high, 1420 up 14%. Is that a, 52-week high, all-time high? That is very close to an all-time high. Back in 2021, it got back to those levels. And obviously a lot of that is being done from the NVIDIA deal, getting people more excited. And then Nebius did get to 108. Nebius closed at 106 on the day. Fear and Greed is now 63. It was at 60 in the morning. So you definitely got a bit of an increase on Fear and Greed to that 63 level, but nothing crazy into the 70s or 80s that we saw a while ago. So that's what we got from here. All right, let's get some more coverage on what's going on with this deal with OpenAI and NVIDIA. And I want to put this question in the chat, and I would love to hear a lot of different perspectives on it. You guys just heard my perspective on why I don't think it's easy. I know it sounds like intellectual gymnastics, but at the end of the day, if OpenAI gets an ROI from these chips, NVIDIA giving them these chips or NVIDIA giving them the money to buy their own product, to me, only falls apart if OpenAI can't make any money off the product, because then NVIDIA is selling chips to a company that ultimately can't monetize, so the entire cycle breaks. If OpenAI monetizes, which they've shown they know how to monetize, they don't know how to make a profit yet, but growth stocks, it takes time for companies to make a profit. Right now, they're trying to capture market share, and the fact that they have the most amount of weekly active users on their LLM shows me that they're obviously doing something right. If they can just monetize that effectively in the future, then I don't necessarily think it's a Ponzi. So OpenAI, NVIDIA deal, bullish, or I don't know, we'll call it bearish. Bearish if you think it's a bubble, bearish if you think it's not going to work out right. One thing that is interesting is OpenAI or NVIDIA did not do this deal with XAI. And I think NVIDIA would be willing to do a deal like this with XAI. It's just XAI probably doesn't need as much compute capacity as ChatGPT, OpenAI does, and that's probably because OpenAI is just bigger at this moment. But I would imagine NVIDIA does this deal with a lot of these other LLM companies because A, it helps them, and also B, they get to support the entire ecosystem, which to me makes a ton of sense. By the way, Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. ABC put out an announcement that they made an emotional decision at the time, and they talked with Jimmy Kimmel, and now he's back on the air. So for those that do care about the story, he will be back to late night on Tuesday. And for those that watch it, then you can watch that when it goes live on Tuesday. All right, let's hear a little bit more from Sam Altman on this deal, and then we'll keep going from there. Steve said he would call in about 20 minutes. I think Trump's about to be live as well, so we'll see kind of what Trump has to say, and then we'll get Steve's thoughts on this market. And Steve's probably going to scold me for not watching Animal House, even though I told Steve, I was like, I've had a cat in my house. I've seen an animal in my house. Technically, I've seen the movie. He's like, the movie's not about animals. I was like, well, why did they call it Animal House? I don't know what to say.
There's like no partner but NVIDIA that could do this at this kind of scale, at this kind of speed. It's really like quite incredible. but this will expand on the Stargate ambitions and let us push further and further. We have found every step along the way that we did not quite set our sights big enough, given the market demand. So this will help us push towards that next level. The compute constraints that the whole industry has been, and our company in particular, have been terrible. We're so limited right now in the services we can offer. There's so much more demand than what we can do. And as we look forward another year or 2 years, if you have, let's say it takes 10 gigawatts of compute or 5 gigawatts of compute, you could choose one of two things. You could choose to cure cancer by having AI do a bunch of research, or you could choose to offer free education to everybody on Earth. No one wants to make that choice. And so increasingly as we see this, the answer is just much more capacity so that we can serve the massive needs and opportunity with this.
Greg, one way of measuring that demand is the number of users that OpenAI has. ChatGPT says somewhere between 700 and 800 million. How quickly are you growing? What's the technology that you guys need to bring to bear, from NVIDIA included, in order to satisfy that?
Yeah, so 700 million, growing extremely quickly. Like, I think that ChatGPT has grown from nothing to that scale, and it continues to grow faster than any product in history. And really, the reason we were able to make this breakthrough and serve it to the extent that we have is by leveraging NVIDIA's platform. Like, we've worked together very closely since Jensen actually hand-delivered a server to us back in 2016. And we were just doing some math earlier. I think that this deal is really for like 1 billion times more computational power than that initial server. And so we're able to actually create new breakthroughs, new models, to be able to actually solve problems like create cures for diseases, and to actually be able to empower every individual in business, because we'll be able to reach the next level of scale.
Now, he's right when he says it's 1 billion times more computing power. This deal will include 5 million GPUs, just this one deal. NVIDIA has not even sold 4.5 million GPUs this entire year in 2025. This is kind of crazy, dude. I mean, this is why when Jensen says it's monumental in size, he's not lying about that. This is a massive, massive, massive project. And obviously, they're pretty bullish that OpenAI deserves to get those many GPUs to handle all their computing power.
This is the first 10 gigawatts. It sounds like an enormous undertaking, but there's no question that AI is transformational for every industry. But the important thing is the AI infrastructure will be everywhere, and it will power computing experiences for everyone every day, and it's going to be just everywhere.
I don't know, dude. I like the healthy skepticism that we're seeing as soon as we get this announcement by a lot of different people on hey, it's just like it's just them throwing the same money back and forth with each other, pumping up the valuations. I think if there is an ROI on AI, which we are starting to see already in the earnings that have come out, then I don't think that's the case. And I mean, look, either Sam Altman has created the biggest bubble in history by landing massive partnerships with Oracle and CoreWeave and NVIDIA and Microsoft and Google, et cetera, or this is actually legit. This is actually real. It's going to take some time for it to play out. We're seeing the ramifications of it playing out every single day in front of us. And you have to kind of trust the process and see how it ends up playing out. OpenAI, if this is real and it's not a bubble, it's going to be $1 trillion IPO. I mean, like, it seems pretty inevitable this is going to be $1 trillion IPO if they're already worth $500 billion and they're getting ready to have 1 billion times more computing power with this 10 gigawatt deal than they've had in the past. Likely is going to be one of the most important companies on the planet. They're going to have to put up hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue to get that $1 trillion valuation. And yeah, that'll take time, but obviously it will be in the benefit of NVIDIA for them to get there as NVIDIA CapEx continues to gain momentum. So I can understand people feeling like it's topish or bearish, but every time we've had that same comment around CapEx, you get a new piece of data that shows us CapEx is not going anywhere and it's only increasing. Barclays says NVIDIA is not getting enough credit. One of the analysts from there notes that OpenAI's 10 gigawatt NVIDIA partnership could translate to $350 billion in revenue through the decade, roughly 3.5x the size of OpenAI's custom ASIC program next year that they have with Broadcom, arguing general purpose silicon will power most OpenAI workloads. And, people said, oh, it was bearish NVIDIA when OpenAI signed a $10 billion deal with Broadcom. This is a industry where everyone's going to eat. Broadcom down about 1.64% on the day. And yes, OpenAI is a big player in it, but that doesn't mean that, one stock going up is bearish for the other stock as it gets some momentum. SLNH was brought to my attention today. This is a small cap. It's up 63%. Apparently, it might be in the data center place. Never mind. It's up 142% on the day. Again, these small caps, 63 million market cap today after going up 150%. It's just hard for these to hit my radar because they're so small. I will look into it, but if this one is being seen as another data center play, which maybe obviously the stock is reacting like it is, and the Nvidia announcement only made that more evident, then that's why that one is getting some momentum. Opendoor, by the way, this one took a little bit of a hit, 829, down about 14% on the day. The new stock that Eric Jackson has said will become a $200 billion market cap in 2 years. He made a video about a couple hours ago saying that he expects this stock to be $12,000 a share. He's calling it the Shopify mortgages in about 2 years. It's currently $50.60. It was up 48% on the day. It ended up 48%. At one point, it was at 94. Now it's at 50. So this is his new name as the next $12,000 350 bagger. Ticker symbol BETR is what he got. Tanner says, what is this poll? Who thinks this is bearish? Tanner, we're going to talk about it tonight on Tech Bros, but there are plenty of people that feel this is all juggling back and forth of dollars, and there's nothing actually legitimate to the partnership with OpenAI. Tanner actually called me today. I was on the phone with him talking about it as well, and he couldn't control his excitement. I mean, he could not believe how serious of a deal NVIDIA just signed with OpenAI. Like, I don't even think we all are fully recognizing how massive 10 gigawatts is and what this investment could play out to be. And I think we'll get some price target upgrades on NVIDIA over the coming days. I mean, it's just really, really hard to ignore this, especially if NVIDIA starts doing this with a lot of other companies. But you do have, I would say, healthy skepticism of people saying, nope, we don't think it's real. We think it's 1999. We think it's .com bubble. And I think they're right to think that. I don't think that is going to be correct, but it's okay for them to have that worry. In fact, I think that's rather healthy for the entire ecosystem. As long as OpenAI continues to prove that they can get an ROI from these chips, and I think it is not a bubble. It's not a house of cards. It's just one of the most important technological revolutions that we've seen in our lifetime. And to add to that data center tech build out, Meta today announces we are introducing Dating Assistant and Meet Cute, 2 new Facebook dating features. Dating Assistant will begin rolling out gradually in the US and Canada. If they're going to be powering their AI dating assistant via artificial intelligence, then obviously they are going to need more computing power, or they're going to be using some of the GPUs that they've bought from NVIDIA in order to help matchmake. But this is just another example of more infrastructure that is needed for these products that potentially will change our lives. Tanner says Sam, Satya, Mark, Andy, and Sundar are not lying. I would agree. Let's get an update from Stacy. He's one of the best NVIDIA analysts from Bernstein. Here are his thoughts on this NVIDIA OpenAI partnership.
Or do we not know yet?
I don't think we know anything yet. They said that the details will be worked out, I guess, published over the next few weeks. It sounds like, though, that the 100 billion, is from what we can tell, it looks like it's incremental as the capacity is built out. So the first 10 billion looks like it's going to come in the second half of next year as they ramp up Vera Rubin over to OpenAI. So I wouldn't anticipate that there's 100 billion like lump sum all at once. It looks like it'll come out over time, over some period of time as they build out up to what looks to be 10 gigawatts of capacity. The first gigawatt second half of next year.
And what is your key inference from this in the sense of what it means for size of the market, the pace of the build out, whether there's still scarcity, whether there's enough power to have this all happen?
Yeah, no, those are all great questions. I mean, look, as of right now, we clearly one of the primary overarching themes seems to be a shortage of compute. Everybody out there who's involved in this seems to still be scrambling for compute. And so I do think that is part of this. And, Jensen's thrown out some big numbers for what he thought infrastructure spending would be by the end of the decade. I think he said 3 to 4 trillion, like who knows? I don't know how big, but I do think that it's big. So you have that. I think the power question is very interesting. I think customers are lining up power in front of these kinds of investments on years in advance because the power infrastructure as it sits there isn't there. That has to be put in front. And people have really thought about whether or not power might actually be like the primary constraint as we ramp all this up over time. It may not even be compute.
Stacy's bullish. I mean, Stacy is like, hey, wait a second. This is not slowing down. And if these types of deals are taking place, then it's something we probably have to literally look at in a more sophisticated way without just denying that this type of gigawatt capacity is something that's just being done for fun. I mean, NVIDIA is not willing to invest $100 billion for fun. They're obviously doing it because they see the potential for them to prop up the entire OpenAI ecosystem, which is necessary because the more LLMs succeed, the more chance NVIDIA has to ultimately continue selling chips. Pound right there, 179.33. Hoodie after hours is at 124.60. Rocket Lab did get, I think, to the 50s. Did we get a close on 50? We got a 49.65 close. And then ASTS was up also. Wow, ASTS up 9% today. If you bought the dip at 36, congrats. This one fell about 15% last week. This one now recovering back at 49, whereas BMNR after hours, 55.15. That one is down 10%. So, I mean, look, again, it's one of those announcements where it makes you really question how bullish should you be on the entire data center ecosystem play and how many new products and services are going to touch every part of our lives powered via AI, which obviously are going to need a lot more compute to be effective. And if every single company on the planet needs to increase their earnings, aka needs to increase their productivity, their margins, it's going to touch NVIDIA in some way. And if that's the case, you're likely going to continue to see that company catch a bid. So all those names getting a bit more momentum, and we're seeing the overall data center plays not slow down. Here's an update on crypto. Again, we talked about in the morning, there was no fundamental reason for why crypto took a haircut outside of liquidation. And you had about 1.7 billion in longs that got liquidated in the entire crypto ecosystem.
Expert Mackenzie Sagalos out west. Mac, hi, what's going on?
So, Brian, whereas easier U.S. monetary policy has really lifted gold and equities, the steam is coming out of crypto after last week's Fed cut rally. So you've got Solana, Ether, and Bitcoin. You're just pointing to the chart. They are all sliding as traders unwind their bullish bets. That has pushed the overall market value back below $4 trillion. I was looking at CoinGlass data. They say about $1.7 billion in positions liquidated over the past 24 hours. 1.6 billion of that was long. That is the biggest forced selling that we've seen since late March. Now, to your question, there isn't a single clear trigger for the slump, but there are three distinct factors here that are weighing on sentiment. One, you've got those massive liquidations. Two, renewed anxiety over potential government shutdown ahead of next week's deadline. And then three, fading momentum from that so-called digital asset treasury trade. They call that the DAT trade. You were just talking about BitMine immersion. That's a key name in the DAT trade.
What is it again? The DAT? What's that trade?
DAT is digital asset treasury. And obviously those are becoming a lot more exciting to different investors as they can get some leverage against the underlying assets. NVIDIA right there, 183.13. So as you can see, I mean, this is more so to me just a random liquidation of longs. Now, if Ethereum starts to get into that below 4,000 range, then it gets ugly. If Bitcoin starts to get below 110, probably gets ugly. I wonder if there's a bounce at those levels or if it actually does sell off to that point. But that's something we're going to have to see. I mean, I could easily see BMNR going under 50 if Ethereum really does get below 4,000. So that is one thing that people do have to keep their eyes on. Trump is not live yet. I will transition when I see him live. It looks like this is good. This is from the Oval Office. So this is going to be a pretty big announcement on their medical and scientific findings, which is what it's worded as. And we'll see what he ends up saying when he does go live. Dat part, yes. It's DAT, digital asset treasuries. I mean, there's a lot of them that are starting to form. I think more at DAT. I mean, Orbs, right? We had talked to Dan Ives this morning on the Market Open. Orbs is a DAT. It's a digital asset treasury. It is a essentially treasury for WorldCoin. And whatever thesis they have on the asset itself, they turn it into a treasury, and then hopefully they can get an MNAV above that. And I think that's one of the best things about BMNR. Like what Tom Lee's doing is doing this the right way. I mean, if you are going to dilute constantly, you need to do it at a premium in order for it to be value accretive. And that's what he's proven he's able to do. Again, the big two updates with BitMine today is they now have 2.4 million Ethereum. I believe their average is at 4,100, 4,108. So they have 2% of the 5% gold they're looking for. And then they announced a securities purchase agreement to sell 5 million shares at $70 a share, a 14% premium to Friday's closing price, and warrants to purchase up to 10 million shares at $87.50. Basically, the investors bought a call option. Instead of paying $17 for 2027, they're paying about $10, which is a good discount for them. But for BitMine, in the meantime, it gives them about 365 million of stock of cash immediately from the offering, and potentially up to 1.28 billion from the warrant exercises, which allows them to buy a lot more cheap Ethereum, hopefully Ethereum being closer to a bottom at these levels, which is why they would be loading up on it right now. So the fact that Tom Lee was even able to get people to buy his stock at $70 a share when it's trading at 61, as it was on Friday, is pretty damn incredible. And it speaks to the velocity of how he is able to raise money. All right, folks, let's bring someone onto the show, calling in from the streets of New York that you guys, had to snitch on me too. I thought we had something special, but I guess not. And, I get a call at a coffee shop realizing that you guys snitched. I realized you guys snitched. Steve, how are you?
Your audience definitely ratted you out.
Dude, and it was like 20 of them with all these DMs you got.
It was a lot of them, and they even clipped the whole thing for me and everything.
Dude, people took time out of their day to clip that moment to send it to you.
Oh, yeah. They ratted you out.
Okay, well, we'll talk about Animal House in a bit, but can we first start off?
Do you even know what the alumni's name was that the younger brother was using?
Dude, all I know is Toga. Toga is very
important.
Because
I told you that's what you said.
No, because I watched the movie.
Don't lie again. Don't.
I'm gonna watch it tonight. Okay, so I'm gonna watch it tonight so that there was no official lying, and we'll be good to go.
Right.
I'll play the clip in a second for those that are confused.
And what happens when you don't like it? That's my question. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna like it. I'll make sure I like it.
Uh-huh.
I'll make sure I like it. All right, Nvidia, 100 billion OpenAI. What was your raw reaction to this?
I mean, I'm not happy that I didn't pull the trigger because I bought BMNR this morning and I saw Nvidia going down. I'm like, maybe I got greedy. Maybe I can get a little under 170. And the next thing you know, I get out of a couple of meetings and it's 184.
I mean, the scale of this announcement to me is something I did not expect. But here's the real hard-hitting question. There are people saying OpenAI's getting 100 billion from Nvidia. Nvidia knows they're going to pay them the 100 billion back to buy chips. So it's kind of just like flopping the money back around. How are you conceptualizing this entire deal?
So Nvidia is investing 100 million. Sorry, 100 billion into OpenAI, correct?
Over 5 to 6 years. Yeah.
Okay. When OpenAI spends that money with Nvidia is not giving up their equity position that they're getting for their investment. So it is not just a tit for tat.
Correct.
So Nvidia is not only getting an equity stake in what is going to be a very valuable asset, they're also getting $100 billion worth of chip orders.
I think they're getting equity in OpenAI, which is really important. They're obviously getting the chip orders. But if OpenAI is able to make an ROI off these chips, I don't see how this is a Ponzi. It's not like they're buying something that they,
not at all.
Like Cisco. I was actually talking to someone today. He said the reason Cisco was more bullish is because they gave networking infrastructure to startups that like had .com, right? That they weren't real. Whereas OpenAI is obviously real. I mean, they're growing 300% every single year. So if they continue to make revenue and then eventually profits, then I don't think this is some Ponzi investment from Nvidia.
Well, let's be realistic here. Cisco may have given away some equipment, but their revenue and net income continuously grew. It's not like this wasn't a company that was growing. The big difference is Nvidia has a much larger balance sheet. They're much more profitable, and goes back to what I said on your show last night. These companies cannot be stopped. They're too big. They're generating more revenue than countries' GDPs, and nobody else can invest the way that they can or allocate capital the way they can. And at the end of the day, all roads lead back to Nvidia.
Yeah, I agree. It is really hard to deny how much momentum is coming into these plays. What was your first reaction when you heard the announcement? Was it, hey, I need to find the derivative play to get exposure, or just buy more Nvidia?
No, it was, I can't believe I didn't buy it when I bought the MNR.
Yeah, when Tanner called me, he was like, bro, I want to buy more NVIDIA. You know, they were actually like, okay, so this is not slowing.
Yeah,
It's just,
and at the end of the day, getting it freaking 8 points up, is it really the worst thing in the world? Not really.
no,
If you
not
think
at all.
it's going to 250 or 300, does it really matter? No.
Agreed. Okay, so BM&R, you bought more today, down 10%. Why did you buy on the dip?
I want to keep. I hope it keeps going down. I hope Ethereum keeps going down because I want to buy more and more. And I don't care what it does on a weekly basis. You know, I'm looking at this a year or two out.
Yeah, and I think obviously Ethereum sliding today is likely why Bitmine lost the sort of $60 target that it was at, which is healthy, right?
Look, I wouldn't mind if Ethereum goes to 3,800. I really wouldn't mind because I was planning on buying more tomorrow once this tranche clears. So I got to move it around.
Did you buy ETHZilla or no?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't know if this one's actually getting bought out. It was down about 3% of the day. Again, the rumor is that Bitmine might buy them out, but they're obviously
I'm not gonna buy them. I hope it's an acquisition. And I was even considering getting out of the other two and just consolidating into Bitmine, but I probably won't do that unless Bitmine comes back into the 40s again.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're already so far ahead of the game, I mean, they're gonna reach 5% at some time in 2026, it feels like.
Yeah, and then that is obviously going to be very good for their staking. And we saw today that Strive and Semler Scientific consolidated as well as two Bitcoin treasuries. So the idea that we wouldn't see more Ethereum treasuries consolidate, I mean, it's very, very likely that could play out.
I mean, think about what this deal does, because you have the Microsoft announcement with the data center, and now this with NVIDIA investing in ChatGPT. I mean, it's just, OpenAI. There is no other game in town. It's NVIDIA. You can go with AMD or Intel for the server chips and whatnot, but I'm not worried about NVIDIA at the moment. I really think it's going higher.
I think so too. Have you heard of this stock, Better, BETR?
Somebody sent it to me. I haven't looked into it.
Okay, so the guy who was behind the open door move said it will be a 350 bagger in 2 years.
What do they do again? Is it insurance?
Mortgages.
Mortgages, that's right.
So one to look into. It's up 50% on the day. And
I mean, sure. Why not, right?
it's $50. He's calling for a $12,000 price in 2 years.
But okay, what are they going to do differently with mortgages than other companies aren't already doing?
I don't know. I'm just letting you know he's calling publicly for this stock to be worth $12,000 in 2 years.
Yeah, is he on the cap table?
I don't know what is going. All I know is that's what he has publicly said. So
okay, that's
what you got there. SoFi, it's below 30, below your covered calls. So you're doing okay.
Thank you. Let's keep it at like $29.99 for the rest of the week.
I think she wants to break out hardcore from 30.
Don't say that till next week.
I mean, like, I don't know if it happens this week or next week, but it does look like there's a bit.
I will tell you, I did not think it was moving 10% in a week and a half. I was wrong, and I just need to get out of this and not do this ever again.
That is fair.
It's not worth it.
All right, Steve, thank you for your thoughts on NVIDIA.
No, you're not getting away that easy.
Oh my goodness, dude.
You're not getting away that easy. I want you to play the freaking clip for your chat live.
Why do we have to focus on the past, bro?
The past? It was a couple hours ago.
It's in the last time I checked, a couple hours ago, is the past.
Right, and last time I checked, what you said was not factually true. And plus, there's people that don't know what we're talking about.
All right, fine. Let me find the clip.
But under one condition, nobody can put this on Twitter and blast it to Ives.
I mean, it's going to get blasted regardless.
It's going to get blasted regardless.
All right.
I mean, I almost freaking sent a tweet before I decided to call you.
It'll be a fun joke, but I'll watch it tonight, so no one can say I'm lying. So that's my personal question. Favorite movie?
Animal House.
That's such a good. That is like one of my top five.
And how about this? If I met someone that said they've never seen Animal House, I have to delete and block them from my iPhone.
I would not like talk to them ever again. Like in the 19. What am I supposed to say at that moment, bro? Like you tell me.
I already told you what you should have
By
said.
the way, hold on. By the way, I'm not taking all the shit for this. When Tom Lee publicly wished me happy birthday, you know who I called for advice?
Apples and oranges.
And you know what Steve said? Steve said, guess what, Amit? Now it's your birthday.
Exactly.
That you are a bad role model.
No. Apples and oranges. Tom Lee wishing you a happy birthday on a day it's not your birthday. Just let it go because he's never going to freaking remember it. But you asked him a question. He told you the answer. Then you said, oh, my God, I would block everybody who hasn't seen that movie. You haven't seen it. You were not asked a question. He just said happy birthday. This, you were participating in the conversation, giving factually incorrect information.
Intellectual gymnastics, bro. It's both the same thing. You're trying to find a way to justify it.
Put a poll out right now to your chat. They're all going to agree with me.
Oh my gosh. 78 classic. I mean,
if you've never seen Animal House or Godfather, I don't think we can be friends.
I don't think so. I really don't think. No,
I haven't seen
cannot
either.
Be friends.
You haven't seen
favorite.
either.
I don't think they're the same, dude. If you told me
you have not seen either.
You told me to say it's okay for Tom Lee wishing you a birthday, which is not really a lie, but it's definitely stretching the truth. And now you're telling me this is so different. I don't know.
It's extremely different. You don't correct Tom Lee for wishing you a happy birthday. Just let it go because he's never going to remember next year. But
what do you mean he's never going to remember next year? What are you talking about? What type of argument is that? Like,
you blatantly agreed and said you would block people who didn't see Animal House. You need to block yourself now.
No.
Like, you need to block yourself.
Okay, I'm going to ask right now. Is the Tom Lee and Dan Ives...
No, that's not what you asked. I told you what to ask.
What should the poll be?
If you should have just... Whatever.
No, dude, it's one of them is directly stretching the truth. The other one...
The fact that you went that far was crazy. Like, you went so far on that.
It was funny, though.
And really saying that it was in your top 5?
I didn't say that.
Oh, top 10? No, I'm sorry. You said top 10.
Look, I just agreed with the guy. I was a good host. It is what
it
is what it is.
How badly are you getting roasted right now?
Oh, trust me. In the morning, it was even worse.
Oh, I'm sure.
I did say top 5? Oh, I didn't know I said that. Dude, I lied so bad. I'm forgetting my lie, bro.
Yes. The amount of freaking messages that I got about this that we need to address this is crazy.
Okay, but it was pretty funny in the moment. I'm not going to lie.
It was funny for everybody listening, knowing that you were lying through your teeth.
But that's the funny part because it's like, you know, you kind of you go along with it, dude. Like, anyway, I'm gonna watch the movie tonight, so it will all be okay. I'm gonna.
And I do have to say, I'm surprised. I didn't figure Ives to say Animal House is his favorite movie.
Me either. I thought he was gonna say like Inception, Interstellar, Dark Knight, or Wolf of Wall Street. He said freaking Animal House.
I wouldn't expect any of those coming out of him.
Well, those are the best movies, so I thought he would say that. But
you've seen like 5 movies.
I've seen 7. Okay.
7.
Nvidia right here, 183. So, are you buying more Nvidia based on this deal, or?
I mean, we're gonna have to at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. I have not bought more Nvidia in a sizable amount since like 150. So, I mean, it is hard to buy into this much strength, but like when you see deals like this, it's tough.
But what are we going to do when they report at the end of November?
Well, if the markets are doing what, I mean, dude, we're almost at 670 on the S&P, 6,700. So it's like, it's hard to imagine.
That the guy from Goldman upgraded to 7,200 now?
He did? Goldman says 7,200?
Somebody from Goldman came out with a 7,200. Now,
you're right. Goldman 7,200. Yup, you're right.
Now, I don't know if it's for the next 12 months or this 12 months, but somebody upgraded it.
Bro, they had freaking 6632. Then they got to 6,800. Now they're at 72.
You know what's going to be funny? That I'm going to be one of the only people that said 7,000 on December 31st. and never changed my view, even when all the tariff stuff was going on.
That's true. You do deserve some credit because you did say that, and I thought you were kind of crazy saying that in January, and we are pretty damn close, to be honest.
We're getting very close, and it seems like it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think people I think people are starting to understand, but they still don't understand how freaking big AI in this tech trade is going to be. Microsoft just went all in again, and who is any analyst to say that Microsoft is wrong? They're seeing what the demand for the drive of their products is, and they're telling everybody where they're putting money. And once again, just like I said to you yesterday, now Amazon and Alphabet have to come over the top and respond. They are now diligently working to figure out what the hell they're going to do in 2026, because they cannot allow Microsoft to take the crown at 3 billion data center that's going to be vastly superior. This is going to be a back and forth overhand right to left cross.
Dude, Apple's at 3.8, Microsoft's at 3.8. I mean, they are. Could you imagine by the end of the year we have $3-4 trillion companies?
I think it can happen. And how about this? Amazon could break out. Amazon's what, 2.5 trillion, 2.2 trillion?
Yeah, 2.4. Yeah.
So don't sleep on Amazon getting to 3.5 next year.
I think it's the most obvious one to break out if they can do a little bit of work on their operating margins. But yeah, I agree.
I agree. I mean, this is just, the question is, do you go indirect and try to play Micron and SMCI and those companies? Because you're going to need, in HiMax, you're going to need so much more DRAM now, so much more, and so much more high bandwidth memory, the new stuff that's coming out. I mean, HMB, you're going to need so much of it.
Do you own Micron?
No, I used to back in the day at like 7.
Okay, because they've got earnings tomorrow. They're 40% in a month. If they can crush earnings, I mean, it's got to be really good. But who knows? Maybe that.
I think they're going to have good.
I mean, what if they have an Oracle type of quarter?
They could. Don't sleep on them coming out and saying that the demand is like nothing they've ever seen.
Which you would imagine should. I mean, based on even the announcement today, you would. I mean, I don't know if it's a good stock to play for earnings, but definitely you would imagine long term they have that type of demand.
There's only several companies that can even be in that same conversation for that. So you look at all the things that are going to expand. And like I was saying, I'm not sure why Southern Company, a company that actually has working nuclear right now, isn't getting a bid. Yet Oklo and SMR are.
Well, your boy Ives was pretty bullish on Oklo. You know, he upgraded them to 150.
I mean,
he said, hey, they're the number one player when it comes to energy for nuclear.
Right, but they don't even make $1 in revenue.
He says they'll get a bunch of deals eventually, and it'll be a couple billion in revenue overnight.
Yeah, they're going to get deals, and they're going to freaking generate revenue, but it's going to be in the future. I mean, it's not anytime soon.
Yeah, investors are definitely pulling forward that growth.
The question is, do you go CoreWeave and Nimbus now?
It's not Nimbus, it's Nebius.
Same thing.
It's not the same thing. Like, see, this you should stop lying to the audience. It's not.
Isn't the freaking ticker Nimbus and NIMB or something?
That's not how you say it. It's Nebius. So
same difference.
Just want to make sure we stop the lying on this.
It's the same difference. Unlike you earlier.
Wait, what did the chat say? Okay, 70% of people said Tom Lee and Dan Ives' situation is not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Oh,
it's vastly different.
That's bad for me. Good for you.
It's vastly different.
Dude, someone wishes you happy birthday and you go along with it is lying. I don't care what you say. That is a lie. So,
no, like, you're not going to publicly correct somebody like that. But you could say after the fact, hey, just so you know.
Do you want me to personally DM Tom Lee and be like, hey man, you were wrong?
No, it's too far. After you did that interview in person, you could have done it after the fact.
The point is, it's a lie to not correct him.
No.
How is it not a? All right, whatever.
You're just not correcting him. You went along and you actually embellished.
Oh, embellished. Now that's a hell of a word.
You said it's a top 5 movie, did you not?
I guess I did. I forgot I said that, but I guess
exactly.
Anyway, it was a joke. The whole point of it was to give people a little bit of a chuckle. So
Do not even say that.
I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to be an Animal House junkie. I'm watching this stupid.
How much do you want to bet you can't even get through it?
I will. Wait, how do I even watch this? What channel is it? I mean, what like?
Oh man, it was on Prime not too long ago. I feel
it's
like
on Paramount. Okay, I'll get a free.
It's on Paramount. That's what it's on.
I'm gonna get a free trial with Paramount and watch this thing tonight.
See, here's the problem. You watched Old School and you didn't like it, which makes me think you're really not gonna like this.
I mean, we'll see. We're gonna see. And then it's not lying because then I watched it. And if it's a top 5 movie of all time for me, which we'll find out tonight, then it's definitely not lying. So I will find out tonight as I watch it.
I think you're going to call me at like 10 o'clock. Like, I can't get through this.
Well, I will be live on a podcast. So after the podcast, I'll have to watch it. And then I'll let you know.
There is no way you're watching it today.
Dude, we'll see. We'll see. You got to give me a chance at least. Let me.
With the amount that you sleep, there's no way you're watching it.
I will try my hardest to become an Animal House fan today. Okay, last quick question for you, Steve, and then we got to get to Trump because he's about to go live. Do you have any opinion on his thoughts on Tylenol leading to autism?
They call me, I just blocked them. He said that today?
He's about to go live and say that they found research that Tylenol for women who are pregnant leads to autism, and they're going to suggest to stop taking it if you're pregnant. I think he got another call. He's not live yet, guys. He's about to be live, and we'll see what he says. Yeah, he has been saying that.
Hey, sorry. No, I don't really have an opinion because it's not something I have any idea about.
Have you ever thought about this at all, or this is like the first time?
No, I mean, I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, me too. This is the first time I've ever heard something like this. So, yeah.
I can't look at any numbers and make a definitive decision, so I have no opinion on it.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Later.
Later. Yeah, guys, not live yet. When he goes live, we'll see what he has to say. I am curious if they're taking any policy action on this deal as well, which, I mean, who knows? The parent company of Tylenol was down about 4%. Kenvue, it was down about 4% on the day based on this news. KVU actually 6.38%. So you did have a little bit of a sell-off right there. But we're going to see if Trump actually says anything that gets the market to be a bit more concerned. I don't have any thoughts on Eatzilla. I don't know if BM&R is going to be acquiring them. If they do, great. If they don't, I mean, if you buy it for the buyout, it's pure speculation. So you can't complain if they don't get bought out. They do have a special meeting happening on September or October 7th, which maybe they talk about some type of potential acquisition. But as of now, no major update on like what exactly they're doing. Here's an update on the Tylenol stuff from Trump, and he should be going live soon.
Incredibly focused on autism and why rates of the neurodevelopmental disorder have skyrocketed in the U.S. Autism affected 1 in 31 American children in 2022. That's up from 1 in 150 in 2000, according to data from the CDC. And obviously, everyone wants to know what's driving that increase. And so Tylenol has become one area of focus over the past decade or so, and there's been some conflicting data. Some studies have suggested a link between use of the pain reliever to an increased risk of Tylenol or of autism, excuse me. But one large study last year found that when you look at siblings, so you take out the factor of genetics, that association goes away. But of course, this is still a hotly debated area. And so Tylenol is really the only pain reliever that you can take during pregnancy. And whatever the administration recommends could have wide-reaching implications. The Washington Post report.
Now, again, I want to see if there's any policy implications of what they're going to say. We also take a look at Kenvue stock right here during this announcement. But it might just be more of a suggestion versus an actual announcement. And we'll see if there is any change on that. Sava is up 35% after hours. Okay, this one getting some momentum. CEO bought 185,000 shares. This one in the biotech world, so that one getting a little bit of green after hours as the CEO buys some more stock. Again, next decade, this one we've been tracking the insider buying on for a while. That one's up about 5% on the day. PayPal, I know a lot of people are still wondering, when does this thing begin to move? I'm seeing some more chatter on PayPal. I have a couple of friends who've been selling some more puts on PayPal as they think the opportunity is a bit more asymmetric here. Look, I think PayPal's cheap, and I think it will continue to be cheap. The question's just, is there a narrative to get this thing to really move? And I don't know. I don't know if there is. This is a chart right here about their shares outstanding. As you can see, management has approved an additional $20 billion worth of buybacks. They retired nearly 200 million shares in the past 2 years. So this one looks like an obvious candidate to eventually make a pop. But there might be a narrative issue. And I don't know. I don't know if that narrative issue easily goes away. Like, would you rather buy Hood at 125 or PayPal at 70? I think there's a legitimate argument to buy Hood at 125 over PayPal at 70. But it comes down to kind of how much you want to calculate the risk reward on some of these names. All right, is Trump live? Let me see. Do I have him here? White House stream. All right, we're going live. Here we go.
Understood or known, but I think we've made a lot of strides. I think we've made a lot of strides. I wish it was done a long time ago. Today, we're delighted to be joined by America's top medical and public health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31. But in some areas, it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California where they have, for some reason, a more severe problem. But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys. 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000, and then you go to 12, there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
Yes.
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it, and you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire, and you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you have to, if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, but I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and the 3 should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it 4 for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're Okay, when you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country. The FDA will be updating the label of an existing drug to reflect potential benefits in reducing some autism symptoms. This gives hope to the many parents with autistic children that it may be possible to improve their lives. That's one of the things that I'm very, very happy about. I mean, this was mostly going to be on how not to have the child affected, but we've learned some pretty good things about certain elements of genius that can be given to a baby, and the baby can get better. And in some cases, maybe substantially better. Not going to be easy, but be a lot easier if it didn't happen in the first place, as these great parents fully understand, right? They fully understand. I feel so terribly for. I have so many friends with autistic children. It's a tough situation. Finally, to help reach the ultimate goal of ending the autism fever, the NIH will be announcing 13 major grant awards from the Autism Data Science Initiatives. And to be honest with you, to me, that's the least important. It's not even a money thing at this point. There's so much money, but they have to do, and they have to move quickly. When the alternative is that nothing bad can happen, let's do it now. I was just saying to Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like to ask Bobby to get up to the podium and say a few words, and then Dr. Bhattacharya and Dr. McCary, Dr. Oz, Dr. Fink, followed by two incredible mothers that have experienced firsthand what this country is going through, what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot. And I want to say it right now. And, you know, the way I look at it, don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on this subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense, too. And there's a lot of common sense in this, and I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it, but I'd like to be a little bit more, a little speedier in the process of a recommendation, because there's no harm in going quicker. There's absolutely no harm. At worst, there's no harm. Thank you very much. Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. To meet the president's challenge, I ordered HHS to launch an unprecedented all-agency effort to identify all causes of autism, including toxic and pharmaceutical exposures. President Trump's urging NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS are turning over every stone to identify the etiology of the autism epidemic and how patients and parents can prevent and reverse this alarming trend. We have broken down the traditional silos that have long separated these agencies, and we have fast-tracked research and guidance. Historically, NIH has focused almost solely on politically safe and entirely fruitless research about the genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years. As a result, we don't have an answer to this critical question, despite the cataclysmic impact of the epidemic on our nation's children. We are now replacing the institutional culture of politicized science and corruption with evidence-based medicine. NIH research teams are currently testing multiple hypotheses with no area off limits. We promise transparency as we uncover the potential causes and treatments, and we will notify the public regularly of our progress. Today, we are announcing two important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which started with sound science.
All right. I think we got the gist of what they're going for. Kenvue actually up 5% after hours, even though that is the company that, see that green candle right there. Trump said to not take their product when you're pregnant. Dude, I am not a medical expert. I know very little about drugs, so I don't even think I'm qualified to even comment on what they are saying. But the next hour of this stream or the next hour of the White House stream is going to be filled with like medical experts that are going to be coming to the stadium or the podium and talking about their experience with their findings. I think the medical community is going to eventually want to see like what exactly is the hard data, because right now they're asserting that if you're pregnant, there are studies, whatever new studies they've done that have linked Tylenol with autism if you're pregnant. I think they've got to probably open source the data, which I imagine they'll do, and then the medical community will try to see if there's any sort of real argument they're making. But it doesn't look like we're going to get Q&A from Trump for like the next hour, because they announced like 5 other speakers, including I think 2 parents with kids that have autism that are going to be speaking. So yeah, we're likely not going to be seeing Q&A for a while, which means we'll probably cover the Q&A tomorrow morning. But there you go. I have no idea how to comment on that. I know nothing about drugs or medicine. Some of you guys that either work in a hospital, potentially nurses, potentially have studied this stuff in college, you probably know a lot more than me. But this is the official stance of the Trump administration. Trump was very clear. If you are pregnant, the administration is advising you to not take Tylenol, as that could be potentially the lead cause or one of the leading causes for autism in children. So that's what you got from Trump. And there you go. You don't know anything about stocks either, yet you still talk. That's true. That's true. I don't know anything about stocks, but I still talk about it. No, but in all seriousness, I really know nothing about drugs, bro. I have no idea how to even kind of gauge what they're saying. I also, honestly, I just couldn't understand RFK towards the end of it. Like, I'm sorry, but sometimes it's hard to understand him. So like the last 2 minutes of him talking, I have no idea what he said at all. At least Trump, he talks slow enough where you can like understand what he's saying. But he did make this weird metaphor of pumping up the babies like horses. I mean, it's a little weird just like listening to it, but we'll see what the data ends up looking like. All right, so that's kind of the main news after hours. Is there anything else we missed? Obviously, the NVIDIA thing, that was the most important piece of news that we had going on. Here is a Fundstrat's Mark Newton, and here's his argument on Ethereum from a technical perspective.
Product that you have.
That's right.
Because you're up 75%. I mean, you're up over 100%. You're up like 100, what, 18%?
Was 30 this year. It's up about 10% above the S&P.
The S&P, but you're killing it since you've been in existence.
You're
crushing
correct.
it. You've added 4 new names. I want to
lower than 4,000. I expect to move.
But this is par for the course with the volatility for this kind of.
That's right. One does not need to be concerned about Ethereum. It should go no lower than 4,000. I expect to move to 5,500. I like Ethereum a lot. It's my favorite of the cryptos. Some of these have a little bit lesser market cap than maybe some of the large caps. So the Reddit, I think, is phenomenal. Robinhood and, of course, Shopify is set to begin a very good move up into October. So I stripped out a few. I added a couple. I think these are excellent risk rewards over the next couple months.
And I like what's on your watch list.
So he's saying Ethereum 5,500 is still the target. Remember, the Fundstrat kind of analysis on Ethereum is 10,000 by end of year, 10 to 12,000. We do have about 3.5 months left towards the end of the year. So we're going to see if that plays out. I don't know, dude. I think that's a bit aggressive. Same thing with Bitcoin, 200,000. I think that's aggressive. I think, 5,500 is like reasonable, and I think that could take place by the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to go that much more above it, but the rate cuts maybe are the catalyst for why that happens. And so if it does happen, we're going to see how that ends up playing out. Reddit also, they have what's their market cap? They are well beyond being a candidate for S&P 500. They just went public, a year and a half ago, so it's going to be hard for them to get in that quick. But next year, I mean, there's plenty of companies that you could kick out of the S&P and put a Reddit or a SoFi in instead. Reddit's now a $50 billion company. So it would not surprise me if they get on the list for 2026. And that obviously could be a massive catalyst for them as well. If someone told me that was an SNL skit, I'd believe them. Some of the terminology was definitely a bit weird. And again, I don't even really know how to comment on it because I just don't understand enough about that industry. As one of you guys mentioned, I tried to invest in a biotech 5 years ago, blew up my account because I thought I understood like biology, and I obviously didn't. So I don't know. I don't even know if there's a trade on Kenvue to really make, but it is something that, when Trump was on the campaign trail, he did kind of put out a campaign promise that they would try to find some way to alleviate most of the diseases that they think, this is kind of RFK, but Trump speaking for RFK, they think are preventable just by taking a different approach to either food or traditional drugs and medicine. And it looks like autism, which is one of the things that Trump's been focused on for the past couple of years now. Even in his first term, he was focused on this. It seems like this is their answer, which is positioning Tylenol as not a drug that you should take. if you are pregnant. These are the top 20 stocks that were traded in the options market today. Nvidia at 4.5 million contracts. Then you had Apple at 2.4, Tesla at 2.2, Opendoor at 1.1, Intel 795,000, AMD, Amazon, iBit, Snapchat, Oracle, Palantir, CoreWeave, Neo, Plug, SoFi, Kenvue, the parent company of Tylenol, Bitmine 400,000 contracts, SoundHound, Google, and Rigetti. So these were the top 20 names that were traded in the options market, and that's what we had there. Shout out to Evan. Do you know anyone who's been bullish on Apple? Evan, stock market news. He's been pretty bullish on Apple for like his entire life. And it's playing out. Dude. Look, I picked them in my ETF. I don't have them personally, but I picked them in my ETF at 198. Felt it was being too disrespected. And it looks like it is catching up. Here is Eric Jackson on his argument for Better. Again, I've not done any due diligence on this company, but this is his argument. And you guys can give me your thoughts on what you're thinking on this one.
$90 this morning after closing at $34 on Friday. 34.07 is where it closed Friday. I put out a tweet thread today talking about Better, the way I talked about Open on July 14th when it was 88 cents. Day one when I showed up here at Drake's, Open was $3.21. It's now, I don't know where it is right now, it's over $9. Better was $34 on Friday. Got as high as $90 today. Last time I looked, it was around $50. I think it could be a 350 bagger, and I gave my logic for that. It's basically the Shopify using AI of mortgages is what they have been doing the last 3 years, and I think it's God's plan. And I think Drake should own both. I think a lot of other people should look at both too and do their own analysis and judge for themselves. I put out my thoughts. People can ignore it. My thoughts, they can disregard it. They can, hand wave it away. I mean, that's their right. This is Canada. This is America. Everybody can do what they want. I'm the Carvana guy who got in at $15. I got in Open at 88 cents, and now I'm in Better over the last few weeks at a much lower price than it is today. I haven't sold a share. I don't plan to sell a share. I think this could be a $12,000 stock in 2 years, 3 years. That's if everything goes right. That's if rates drop 200 bips. But the pathway is there. This is a totally different kind of company with no Wall Street coverage, just like Open, just like Carvana. So it's the kind of name that can 100 bag. And I think, that's why I like it. That's why I think Drake should like it. That's why I think Future, his business manager, should like it. And hopefully when Drake returns to Canada from Germany, I'm going to Germany for a couple of days at the end of this week. So we'll pass each other, but hopefully we can schedule a meeting when I'm back and they're back and talk more about this. Better and Open. They can work together too, by the way.
Okay. So that is his thesis. I think it's fair to give everyone a chance to voice the thesis. And, if the stock does end up going to $12,000 in 2 years, it will probably be one of the best returns in stock market history. And I guess we're going to see if that ends up playing out. Robinhood right there, 124.70. Palantir after hours, 179.65. SoFi, 29.77. And then Grab 650. I did say on the market open, for those that missed it, Triple V did buy another million shares at 636 today. So he contributed to the 94 million shares of volume today. And he now has 5.5 million shares of the stock. 650 is what we got for the close on Grab. Also, dude, the option chain is ridiculous. I mean, 191,000 calls were traded today, 7,000 puts. That doesn't mean people bought those calls. They could have been selling those calls as well. But still, that's just a dramatic bullish upside towards at least the options or the derivatives exposure on the name. And it's nowhere near the volume of any of the biggest stocks in the market. But still, to have a 0.04 put call ratio is quite incredible. And I think that means, and we did break 655, got to 658. So I think that does mean there is some momentum that is coming into the name. So that's what we got. CleanSpark is up for this reason. Let me pull it up right here, up about 6% after hours. One thing that is specific about them, Announcing an investment into high-performance computing, CleanSpark announced a partnership with Coinbase Prime for a $100 million Bitcoin-backed credit. The Bitcoin mining company secured non-dilutive capital to scale Bitcoin mining and HPC growth while expanding its energy portfolio, aka they are beginning to pivot, at least partially, into data centers. So CleanSpark kind of woke up and said, Bitcoin mining is not profitable anymore. Bitcoin treasuries, no one cares about them anymore. This data center shit, that's working. And Iren, Cypher, TeraWolf, all of them have had pretty successful turnarounds, Iren being the best one from being a Bitcoin miner as they've transitioned. And it looks like CleanSpark potentially is going in that direction as well. Enzo, thank you for the $5 super chat. Did you buy BM&R calls? I did not. Chris Patel, our good friend of the channel, did. So he loaded up on more spreads. I just have stock. I don't have any options outside of the sold covered calls that I have. But Chris bought... He has 184 now of the 50 75s for January 2026. So he's betting that Bitmine will be $75 minimum by 2026. So he did buy some more. Okay, Roger, thanks for the super chat. Sending the super chat just to check if you blocked yourself. Fingers crossed this 25 never makes it to you. Dude, it was funny today. It was funny. Steve was just mad because obviously, you know, he gives me shit all the time for my lack of cultural knowledge on movies. But that was funny, dude. That was I the only reason I even knew about Animal House is because Steve has mentioned in the past. I never watched it, but it was funny for Dan Ives to say it and then you know, for me to go along with the skit. That's what it wasn't a lie. It was a skit, bro. It's freaking show business. It's a skit. People call it lying. This is more of just entertainment. That's what it was. So that is what we've got. Robin right there, 124.62. After I did Google it quick, bro. I am quick with the Googling, bro. Like 1978 classic, that was my fingers immediately typing that shit and figuring out what year it's from. So it wasn't too bad. All right, let's go back to the Trump live stream and see some of the other stuff they're talking about, and then we'll keep going from there.
I'm here today to talk about what this announcement means for the millions of moms and dads who are faced with the choice of whether to take acetaminophen during pregnancy. It's hard to hear information that challenges the status quo. We are sharing this information not to confuse, but to empower parents to make the best choices when taking medications during pregnancy.
Okay, so again, kind of continuing to reinforce the argument from the administration until we actually see the data, like the white paper, if they've even done one, or the statistical analysis, if they even have any. Like, here's the worst case scenario. If they don't put out any actual data on how they came to this conclusion, I think it's going to be seen as a joke. And I think I can say that objectively without being political. It's like, hey, if you're going to claim women that take Tylenol that are pregnant have a better chance of autism, there has to be some data that RFK's team has been working on. And hopefully we get to see that data. I would imagine we have to see that data for any of this to even be taken seriously. But I mean, we're going to need to see if they end up coming with the data. If we don't have that data, it's going to be kind of weird because then it's just them asserting stuff. And like, you know, how do you believe any of that if it's not real? So I guess we'll see. They have a couple of other people to speak, so we're probably not going to get to Trump Q&A, but I'm sure he'll definitely get some questions on the methodology of this, and I don't even think he's going to be able to answer it. It's probably going to be RFK that has to, and Dr. Oz that has to figure out exactly how they're explaining this to be the case. All right, so that's what we got there. After hours, let's see what other stocks are moving. S&P 666.73, Grab 650, Google 253. Dell was up 2.5% today. SMCI was up a little bit. Iran again closed 41.98. Did anyone take some profits today? Did anyone buy anything today? Did we go shopping or take some chips off the table? Anyone sold any calls? Anything crazy? Again, this is supposed to be the worst week of September. S&P at a new all-time high. So far, we're not seeing the worst of September kind of manifest itself yet. Now, maybe that's coming soon, but I mean, it hasn't been there for the past 2 months, which is definitely going to make October pretty important to see how this plays out. One news on Kalshi, their market share has now surpassed Polymarket, which is super bullish Robinhood because they partner with Robinhood for the prediction markets. Kalshi is up from 3.1% to 62.2% of market share in 1 year. Obviously, a lot of people are trading Kalshi or on Kalshi aggressively, which is great for Robinhood. Robinhood probably contributing to some of their market share because so many people are trading on Hood's platform. I see a bunch of people saying I bought BM&R. I sold some Grab and SoFi calls. The premiums on Grab are getting better. I still have not sold any Grab calls because, like, I just don't think the premium is worth it. I really do think it's. I can't say I really think. The data is letting me think with more certainty than not that it's in a bit of a breakout, and so I definitely don't want to sell calls in the midst of that. But if it kind of fades out a little bit, then obviously those $6.50, $7 calls are probably juicy. But the premium still is just not that attractive to risk the shares. I do think $7.50 by the end of the year would not be too crazy. I see a bunch of Ethereum. I see bought Qs, Nvidia, Google, sold some D-Wave, bought some gold, closed calls on SoundHound, BM&R at 58 and 55. S&P has already rebalanced Hood. It happened today. So whatever you're looking at on Robinhood, we did get to 126.64, whatever indices or fund managers that have to buy, they've likely bought it. I don't know if the process takes a couple of days, but today was the day. And so far, the rebalance did happen. Oh, we got some Duolingo. All right. Someone bought some Duolingo. Opendoor. Are we below 8 on Opendoor? Holy crap. Why is this? Is something happening? Hold on. Opendoor down 10%. All right. I'm going to guess it's an offering. Down 10% after hours. Oh boy, she's going down. I'm going to guess it's an offering. I could be wrong, but 10% after hours. Now, again, Eric Jackson has said they don't need the money, so it shouldn't be an offering. It has to be something. 739. Oh boy, she continues to get hit. What is the reason? No one has the data yet. There has to be something. There's no way it tanks like that after hours. No way. Without a real reason. 725. My good. The insider said they're not going to sell. It's not insider. I mean, unless they were lying to. I don't think. Wow, 713. What's happening? Okay, whoever said Opendoor took some Tylenol. That's a little inappropriate for the channel. Okay, that's a bit inappropriate. 715, 710. It is 10 cents below 7. Skrelly closed his short at 890, bro. He closed too early. If he had just left it open for the whole day, he would have made more. What is happening? There's got to be some news. I don't see. My guess is offering. That's my only guess. What else would be the reason? No one has the news, bro. No one has it. None of you guys have it. I don't have it on Twitter. I don't see any 13Fs. 739. You're getting some people to buy in. 1087 down to 730. Today, it went from 945 to 730. I'm curious. I did see some comments under Eric Jackson's Better video of being really upset. And a lot of those people were like, what are you doing, folks on Opendoor? I think, when you create this deep of a cult and then you pick a new shiny object, there's definitely going to be some pushback, especially if the journey that you started has not been complete. I mean, of course, everyone is allowed to like multiple stocks and analyze multiple stocks, but obviously, if you're saying it's going to 82 and the stock's at 10, then people want you to stay committed to the original journey. And, they might be pretty upset if you go the other direction. So we're going to see how this one ends up playing out. I still don't have news on this. This is now down 11%. That doesn't happen that easily on Opendoor, especially because there's so many dip buyers. So there has to be some either forced selling or aggressive selling based on some piece of news or some shares that have been dumped after hours via an offering that could be creating this pain. However, if there was an offering, we would know by now. Like that stuff doesn't take like more than a couple of minutes to be put out. And I don't see the news. I don't see the news yet. George Noble, he's a hedge fund manager, said Opendoor is garbage. He's been saying Opendoor is garbage for the past couple of weeks, though. That's probably not the reason why it's down. So I doubt that it's that one. I met with Dan Ives this morning, reminding me of when I met my wife 25 years ago, and she asked me if I liked to dance, and with a straight face, I looked her in the eyes and said I love to dance. See, you were probably lying because you probably didn't love to dance. But that's your future wife. And she just said, hey, do you want to dance? And what are you going to say? Of course. Because I would love to dance. So thank you for understanding the situation that I was in this morning. Unfortunately, Steve didn't get it. I have a feeling Dan was trolling, though. Maybe Dan knows I'm not good at movies and he was trolling by saying I would block someone who has never seen the movie. That could be the reason. Vlad just texted me, Triple V, that Open Door's tanking. I'm like, yeah, I see it, but why? Why is it tanking? What's the reason? What is the reason? Triple V, by the way, he did go short Open Door. I know it sounds so convenient, but he shorted 2 million shares of Open Door at 10.20. So he's pretty happy about this decline. I was on the phone with him on Friday, and he was just like, yeah, this shit's probably going to tank, bro. He's like, this shit can't keep going forever. And so that short is definitely paying off for him right now. But why? Why is it tanking? That is the question. Because the reason for it tanking is very important, because if it's a BS reason, it's going to get bought up. If it's a legit reason, I mean, we're going to have to see. And no one has the reason yet. I see nothing on Twitter. Absolutely nothing. There has to be a reason. Unless there was some big whale that just dumped a crap ton of stock after hours, which is possible. It's technicals. I mean, maybe. I don't know. A move like that after hours, we got to see. We got to see, but I don't have the reason yet. Not Open Door. GameStop also had a decent day. GameStop had one of its better days in the past couple of weeks. It got up to 27. Hasn't been above 27 in actually a couple months. So, yeah, as you can see on the 3-month chart, 27. I mean, it's basically been stuck at 24. So this one broke out a little bit today. Again, GameStop earnings were not amazing last quarter, but they definitely are getting better, and they do have a ton of money in cash. So that could be leading to some momentum right here. Open Door still tanking, dude. 767. Don't have the reason why. Don't have the reason why. It can't just be because Eric Jackson moved on to better, because he did that during the market during the day, right? So if it was going to tank, it would have if him saying he's interested in a new stock was going to tank the company 10%, that would have happened intraday. It was down like 3 or 4% intraday. So this 10% after hours has to be something else. And it happens so quick too, which is the weird part. Jason, thank you for the $20 super chat. Bought more Grab today. I'll see you at Marina Bay Sands soon. Jason, thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chat. I still do believe, one of the reasons we were talking about Grab a lot at $4.70 to $5 is that on a risk reward basis in the market, something that's safe, that has cash, and that has reaccelerating growth, the answer to me was Grab. And I still feel that's the same. So yeah, I don't think buying at these levels is crazy. Maybe it dips back down to like 620, 630, maybe $6. But the fact that this volume is so strong, dude, it traded 1 billion shares over the past 3 weeks in September. That's the highest monthly volume it's seen in its history. And today continued with 94 million shares. So I think, it doesn't have the crazy moves as some of these other names, but it's something that I put a lot of fucking work into, and I would not champion the name if I was not confident in my work. That doesn't mean I'm right, but there's a lot of work that went into making sure this name was relatively strong, and hopefully they execute. But even at these levels, I do think the volume that's coming in and the momentum that's coming in continues to give it some more strength. SoFi right there, 29.81, Google 253, Grab 648, Palantir 179, Hoodie 124, Tesla 434, and Open Door still is getting hit. Still getting hit. It dropped because you show his video on the channel. No, that's not the reason, dude. That video he posted like hours ago. People have seen the video. It's not because he picked a new stock, bro. That's not the reason. Definitely not the after hours, but maybe intraday if it was down 3%. Some people said, screw it, I'm out of the stock, I'm selling. But there has to be a piece of news. It's down 7%. Oh, wow. It was down 12% during the day. So look, if the video of him moving on to a new stock did cause some pain, well, there you go. It was down 12% during the day. But this extra 7% drop that was at one point almost 10% after hours, that's got to be a piece of news that I still cannot find. No one has the news. No one has this news. What happens after BMR owns 5% of ETH? They will begin staking. I think they might start staking before that, and that will lead to a lot of juicy gap net income that they can use to then buy more Ethereum. So I do think that's not the worst idea to them. The question is just when they're going to be able to do it long term. Dude, this is weird, bro. This is really weird. You're starting to get a little recovery. So a V shape. Maybe it was just technical. Maybe it was just some random person sold and then a bunch of people just bought the dip. I mean, it's starting to kind of recover after hours. Now it's down 5%. It was down 10%. I feel like that's the answer. Maybe it was some whale that decided to just take some profits. Yeah, maybe it's algos. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what we've got. According to Robinhood, Cortex Digest, a hedge fund manager called Open total garbage, causing it to drop. Hold on, let me see. That guy follows me on Twitter, George Noble. I think George Noble, but he's been not excited about this name. Yeah, and this article came out 8 hours ago by Ben Zinga about Open Door being total garbage. That is not the reason after hours why I took a hit. Unless the article got picked up by some other funds or something. I don't think that's the reason. I don't know. We're going to see. But it is getting a little bit of recovery after hours, so maybe that was just something technical and a whale dumping, and now it's recovering. But there is no actual news on why this one took a hit. All right. Is that it for us, folks? I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any other crazy news. Is Trump taking questions yet? I don't think he is. So we're likely not going to see that. The Nvidia OpenAI stuff, I think is super bullish no matter what anyone says. But we're going to have to see it play out. All right, Trump is talking again, so let's see what he's saying, and then we'll end it out from there.
And I told Bobby and the doctors behind me, and they are so committed to this. I told them that this is the number one thing I want to do from you. And, you know, we have something else called Favored Nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,000%, by 900, 600, 500, 1,200. We're going to be reducing drug prices at levels never seen. It's called Favored Nations. We're going to be paying what right now, we're like the garbage can for the rest of the world, and we have been for forever. We pay much higher for drugs than the rest of the world. We subsidize the rest of the world. We're not doing that anymore. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. That's bigger than anything. I told the story the other night that I was so proud of my first term that for the final year, drug prices went down 0.25%. And I was so proud. I said, why? I'm the first one to do it. I think it was 28 years, they said, where drug prices went down from the beginning of the term to the end. And I was so proud. I called a news conference. I said, you know, drug prices have gone down. First time it's happened in 28 years. You know what it was? 0.25%. I was so proud. Now we're going to have them go down from $100 a pill to $9 a pill. From $1,300 for a shot of like an Ozempic or the fat, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends, they're fat. They said, yeah, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they paid $1,300, $1,200, and they go to London and they pay $88. And they call me, they go, what's this all about?
Just to clarify some of the math, if a drug goes from $100 to $9, as Trump mentioned, that is a 91% loss in price, not a 1,000% loss in price. I don't think the price can go down more than 100% because then they would be paying you technically to take the drug. So I do think some of the math there might be a little off for Trump right now.
We're subsidizing the rest of the world stupidly because there are a lot of stupid people in this country running things. And how big is that? But to me, that's nothing compared to autism. I see that gorgeous boy. I have a big present for him in the back. You know, you bring him back. We're going to bring him into the Oval Office. I have the best present he's ever going to get, okay? A big one. I saved it for you, okay? Because I heard you were coming. Look how beautiful he is. So that's it. There's nothing much to say. don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and don't give Tylenol to your child when he's born or she's born. Don't give it. Just don't give it. And we're going to have, I think, really, if you do all the things that I say, break it up, just break it up, break up the shots with the doctor. MMRs, as I told you, separate, separate, separate. Chickenpox already separate. You do these things, I'm telling you, I want to, when I leave office, I don't want to have, it's going to be the kind of number that we're hearing where it's 1 in 32 or 1 in 10, because I've heard 1 in 10 also. And in California, it's really bad. I want it to be, let's get it back to maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 or maybe none in 20,000. And the only way you're going to do that, because this is artificially induced. This is induced by something. You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000, then to 1 in 10. That means you're taking something and something's wrong. And I feel very certain, and I know I'll be criticized. Someday they'll look back and they'll say, well, it wasn't, but I think it will. I think we're going to have a tremendous, this is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than me. We cured inflation that Biden gave us. He gave us so much inflation, the biggest ever in history. We got inflation done. We brought prices down. We gave you the largest tax cuts, all that stuff. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what we're doing today. This means everything. So we're going to save a lot of children from a tough life, really tough life. We're going to save a lot of parents from a tough life. Okay, how about a few questions? Let's just make it on this subject. This is so beyond as a subject that I'd rather not talk about, some nonsense on the economy. And I will say this, the economy is unbelievable. The stock market just hit another record high and all that stuff. This means more to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I have one on your announcement, one on vaccines that's also related.
Yes.
Why do you think we haven't heard more previously about the tie to autism and acetaminophen?
Nobody knows. I don't know. Not only that, when you say it, you get attacked. I was saying something similar, not as strongly, because now facts are on our side. But I was saying it with Bobby 20 years ago, and I was attacked. I said, whoa, what was that all about? I had no idea. You get attacked. I don't know. The medical community, the drug companies, doctors, I don't know what it is. All I want to do, I don't care. I don't care about being attacked. It doesn't matter to me. I believe that the numbers at the end of our term or shortly thereafter could be really phenomenal. I want it to go up just like it came down to this horrible level. 1 in 10, 1 in 12. I was told 1 in 10. I was told 1 in 12. Today I heard 1 in 31 if you add the girls and the boys together. It's crazy. And it was 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 20,000. It's not even sustainable for a country. You want to know the truth. And there are other places that don't have it. And they have things in common. And that's called medical research. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I'm curious as you look at the trend lines, how much of this is the causation of acetaminophen and how much is sort of better diagnosis, doctors, researchers having a better understanding of what is on the autism spectrum?
Sure, go ahead.
That's one of the canards that has been promoted by the industry for many years, that it's changed diagnostic criteria, better recognition. But there's been study after study done of that completely debunks that. One of them by the Mind Institute at UC Davis, University of California. But also it's just common sense, because you're only seeing this in people who are under 50 years of age. If it were better recognition or diagnosis, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. I've never seen this happening in people my age. I've never seen a case of full-blown autism, and that means profound autism. I want to be very careful. Head banging, stimming, toe walking, nonverbal, non-toilet trained. I've never in my life seen a 70-year-old man who looks like that. You're only seeing it in the kids. It's an epidemic.
Thank
thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping that you could clear up confusion for moms and dads across America, many of whom voted for you. There's a statement that was put out by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and in their statement, they write, acetaminophen remains a safe, trusted option for pain relief during pregnancy, and that's at odds with what you said and with what many of the experts say. How do you clear up this confusion?
That's the establishment. They're funded by lots of different groups. And you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't think they are, because I don't think the facts bear it out at all. They're fighting for something that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for. But here's the thing. There's no downside to doing, other than a mother will have to, as I say, tough it out a little bit. There's no downside to doing this. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you're going to die. There's no downside. There's no downside to going over a 4-year or a 5-year period or a 3-year period, or even if you space them out for 6 months, you space it out. There's no downside. And that's why I will say the gentleman behind me, they have very strong views and they feel that we're right, but they'll have more research done over the next 2 months. I said, well, 2 months is a long time. A lot of people could be saved, and there's no downside to doing it. Everything I said, there's no downside to doing it. It can only be good. And I think you're going to see very good results. That's establishment stuff, and we've been reading that about a lot of things for years. And you know what's happened? We've gone from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 32 to 1 in 10. Think of it. 1 in 10 or 12 or 1 in 31. Think of it. 1 in 31 people, young kids, get autism. What is it, Jeff?
My question is about leucovorin. You mentioned that as part of your plan. That is also a chemotherapy treatment. Have you been in touch with the drug companies to increase production about that? And I'm going to throw in my follow-up at the same time. Dr. Oz mentioned that this will be available with CHIP, children who are on CHIP. But the big beautiful bill reduced funding for CHIP and Medicaid by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Are you concerned that that will impact your ability to get this drug out?
I'll explain it to you in a second, but please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leucovorin is not a chemotherapy, but it is a vitamin given with chemotherapy sometimes. And the idea here is that the folic acid receptor in the brain is blocked by some antibody response. It might be 20, 40, 50% of kids with autism. And leucovorin will bypass that blocked receptor. And that's why so many doctors are probably seeing so much clinical improvement on kids with leucovorin.
So are you going to production?
Yeah, we've been in touch with the companies, and they are prepared to ramp up production, and we actually talked to them about a month ago.
And on your second part of your nasty question, the number is that the great big beautiful bill, which is the greatest, I think one of the best things ever passed in the history, with the tax cuts and regulation cuts and all of the things it does. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. All of it does. It also gives $200 million, as just explained by Dr. Oz. And I'd like you to explain that to exactly what you're saying.
The Big Beautiful Bill actually increases Medicaid spending projected over the next 10 years by $200 billion. There's also a $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund, which will allow a lot of these programs to get in the rural parts of the country that the president and Congress are handing to governors to start distributing. Those grants have already gone out. The money will be allocated by the end of this calendar year. And I want to point out that the ability of NIH to do research that feeds and hands the ball to the FDA, which then can change labeling to allow Medicaid programs in states to fund this program, will ensure that the things that President Trump and Secretary Kennedy desire are financially affordable for the families around America.
You mentioned CHIP, sir. That's why I asked that question. You mentioned that CHIP would fund this for children.
Well, most of the kids are on Medicaid, probably 43% on Medicaid, another 8-10% on CHIP. And all the programs in general are being evaluated. Most of what the One Big Beautiful Bill was seeking to do was to remove fraud, waste, and abuse. But the programs themselves should stay financially intact for the people for whom they were designed, and in this case, for children.
And the only thing we cut, so that's $200 billion positive. The only thing we cut was for fraud, waste, and abuse, of which there was a lot in this country, and nobody minds that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said that there is no reason to give newborn babies hepatitis B vaccines. But hepatitis B can be contracted not just during sexually transmitted diseases, sometimes like needles to open wounds. So when you say you feel, is that appropriate to be telling?
I think it's absolutely appropriate. I think they should wait till they're 12 years old. Yes, please.
Mr. President, thank you all for being here. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines. Would you like other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out like MMRV?
What is this again?
You've been talking.
Speak up, please.
Sir. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines.
Right, correct.
Would you like the other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out like MMRV?
I would say yes, but that just is, for me, it's a lot of common sense involved in this. It's a process, but we're looking, but it should at least be given separately. Now, it's possible that you can reduce them and I'd give them in small doses, but it's possible maybe in that particular case, the MMR wouldn't work in small doses, but you can certainly give them as separate shots. It's been proven to be very safe when you give them in separate shots instead of mixing. So I don't think there's any reason to do that. Do you agree with it? I'm not a doctor, but I'm giving my opinion. I don't think there's any reason to do that. So it's been proven to be safe when you break them up. But MMR by itself, I've heard bad things about it for many years. Yes, please.
All right, folks, that is it for me. We got some of those questions. Again, I think if they actually put out the data that they use to kind of come to these conclusions on the announcements today, then that can be viewed by everybody. And I would love to read that white paper as well and kind of see what statistical analysis they came to. But not sure if we're going to get that data. So we will find out over the coming weeks kind of how they came to this conclusion. There you go. That's what we got. We'll be back tomorrow on the Market Open. I'll be back tonight at 9:30 with Tanner and Roy. We will be talking about Hoodie, getting into the S&P 500 and Nvidia, making that massive investment in Openai. That will be definitely very important to analyze and discuss. And then tomorrow we'll get into the Market Open. Again, this is the last week of September. Hopefully we can end it out in a positive way. I know it's supposed to be one of the worst weeks of the year historically, but so far, at least on Monday, it's been okay. And we're going to see if that momentum can continue as we get towards the end of the year, and definitely towards the end of this week. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I will make sure I watch freaking Animal. Okay, before we go, is this actually a good movie? Can we do a poll right here in the chat? Okay, so 2 questions. Is this a good movie? And then more importantly, given you guys know my personality by now, am I actually going to be able to sit through this? Is Animal House a good movie? By the way, I'm going to upload the Dan Ives interview as a clip on the channel in a little bit. So for anyone who didn't see it, that'll be on the channel. 54% of you say yes. Okay, 55% of you say no. Now, here's the question. Will I be able to sit through this thing? Will I be able to sit through it? When they arrive at college, socially inept freshmen Larry and Kent attempt to pledge the snooty Omega Theta Pi house, but are rejected, lowering their standards. They try at the rowdy Delta Tau Chi house. Okay, so it's about a bunch of college kids trying to get into a frat. That's what it's about. Okay. I mean, I pledged a fraternity when I was in college, and that was fun. Maybe I'll relate to it. It's not a musical. But that's okay. Hopefully I'll be able to watch it. 56% of you say yes. All right. So I will do my best to consume it today and see what we've got going on. You'll fall asleep in 10 minutes. Oh my, it's going to be after the podcast. I might low-key fall asleep. But I'll try. I will try. All right. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back. Isn't it so nice to be back on our schedule 2 times, streaming every single day? No hiccups, no confusions. I'm so happy to be back and excited to keep going. And we'll keep doing what we got to do. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll be back for Tech Bros tonight, and then we'll do Market Open. I think Ileano will be on the Market Open tomorrow at 10:45. So he'll hop on, and we'll talk a little bit of Pouncer with him. And then we will keep this going throughout the rest of the week. I think we get new homes data tomorrow, and then Friday we get PCE. So still have some more macro data to look at towards the end of the week. That will be very important. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys later tonight. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.